All right, I call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Legs hurt.
Roll call.
Mr. Accipiter?
Here.
Mr. Yotzi?
Here.
Dr. Fike?
Here.
Mr. Frund?
Here.
Mrs. Geyer?
Here.
Mr. Grabiak?
Here.
Mrs. O'Rear?
Here.
Mr. Olson?
Here.
And Mr. Shipley?
Here.
Just for public knowledge, the following executive sessions were held June 24th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. We have citizens' comments on agenda items only. I have Mr. Santmeyer. Mr. Santmeyer, even though you have two separate agenda items, you were still limited to 3 minutes. Okay, perfect, thank you.
Hi, Bud Santemeyer, 608 South Broadway Street, Scottsdale. I just happened to see on the agenda that a couple of things that I had some questions about, and so I would just hope that during the meeting you could clarify some issues for me. The first one is since you've got some revised policies for the school district, that you could clarify that board members are also to be held to the standards on those new policies. Because right now it's for students and staff members and administration, but doesn't say specifically board members. And the other one is to clarify the results in money to the district pertaining to the real estate tax assessment appeal that you have on the agenda. I believe that's in East Huntington Township. I think it's a business in there. Thank you.
You guys want me to take that? All right. So, Mr. Santmeyer, in response to your questions, so the policies I think you're talking about are 103, 103.1, and 104, which relate to the rights of students and district employees, employed personnel with regard to harassment issues. Those specifically pertain to and apply to district employees and students, and are not applicable to public officials just by virtue of the way in which those are drafted, and the legal requirements apply to both employees and legal protections apply to employees and students. I'm sorry,
It goes in and
Move it up
out.
just a little bit.
okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just my voice. All right, so just to reiterate, those policies are written for and apply to specifically employees and students, and are not applicable to board members. There are district policies that do set forth codes of conduct for expected conduct for board members, but those are more in the nature of aspirational. They're not legal requirements because, candidly, the legal requirements don't apply the same to board members. In connection with your other question concerning the revenue impact of the tax assessment appeal, the district will see a reduction both in the fair market value of the affected property and in the annual taxes collected. The reduction is a net $18,700 per year. You are welcome.
All right, next section is reports.
Superintendent's information.
Thank you, sir. I have a couple things. First of which, I wanted to talk quickly about the start of school next year. At the beginning of this school year, we held a staggered start for those learners who were entering the building for the first time. So that would have been grade 6 and grades 9 here at the middle school. So if you guys remember, grade 6 and grade 9 came in on the first day of school and the rest of the building stayed home as a transition activity for those students so they could get a feel of the building here without everybody being in it and have a different kind of day and just get settled in. Went well, talking to teachers, talking to administrators, talking to kids who went through it. They loved it, specifically those that were in the building for the first time. So that is something that we are looking to replicate this coming school year. And I just wanted to let the community know we'll be sending out information about a staggered start coming up for this year. We wanted to extend that to grade 2, giving grade 2 that opportunity at SES for the first time, coming from SPC up to SES. It's a pretty big building, pretty big change. We kind of wanted to run the same kind of transition activities for them as well. Will not affect grades K or 1 at all. They will start on day 1. So, but I did want to let the community know that we will start advertising that shortly. Next thing, I did want to report that the district did have a wellness committee meeting on May 27th where we reviewed our current policy per the regulations. One of the biggest things that came from that discussion was actually a discussion with students about after-school programming at the high school for tutoring, right? So we originally started talking about having the options to having a healthy snack for our students who are staying after school for either weightlifting purposes or any sports practices or marching band practices. But then it kind of evolved into a tutoring program we wanted to look at that could be funded, not by us, which is outstanding. So we are looking at possibly implementing something like that next year for our students at the high school, just to see what we can do to have tutoring for different content areas throughout the week, but also provide a healthy snack for those students who stay for that tutoring, as well as all of our sports activities and weightlifting after school. So that was the biggest conversation in that meeting, aside from the fact that meetings now need to occur twice a year instead of just once a year. And that our next meetings are in November and in February. My list here, I also wanted to give one last shout out to the class of 2025. For those of you who were able to attend graduation, it was the biggest graduating class that we've had since I've been here, which is nice to see. It was pretty packed. It was a packed house. Students did a great job up on the stage, and I thought it was a great night. So those of you who had anything to do with that night, I wanted to thank you. And the last two things are basically for your information. I have a list of our current grants that we've updated with what we've applied for, what we've received, what we're still waiting to hear about. And then at the last committee meeting for Finance and Buildings and Grounds, we talked about an updated asset list, which I have included with my notes for the board and for the public as well, which kind of outlines everything we have going on in the district in terms of how old it is and when it will need to be addressed in further planning. Yeah, and that is all.
Thank you. Solicitor's information.
Thank you, Mr. Freund. Just to provide a quick update to the board, last month we talked about some of the right-to-know law requests that we've been working on. We did have an open Office of Open Records appeal that had been filed, and we received a final determination in the district's favor, and an emergency appeal was filed to that final determination, which the office denied. So presently, we don't have any pending Office of Open Record appeals or right-to-know matters that we're addressing.
Thank you. Business Manager, Transportation Director, information.
Yes, thank you very much. One of the first things that I'm going to talk about before I go into my budget presentation is cyber charter. As you know, if you've been to these meetings or if you've listened online, this is one of my passions. I'm trying very hard to get some cyber charter relief for school districts. One of the things that I passed out to the board this evening was, as you can see, through April, we have spent $1.6 million on cyber charter, which is $445,000 higher than what was budgeted. Year to date, we have spent $1,843,000, which is $473,000 higher than budget. One of the things that I did send out was the 4-year cohort graduation rates. As you can see, as the board members can see, everything, the statewide average is under. PA state average is 87.6% for graduation rate. We have one as low as 60% in cyber charter that is a graduation rate. Oh, I take that back. I see one that is actually down as far at low as 50%. And that is Achievement House Cyber Charter School. And I can tell you that's one of the ones that our kiddos go to. So that's why I'm so passionate. It's not only very expensive for our district, but I don't believe that our kiddos that are going to the cyber charters are getting the education that they need to get to. I did contact our local senator, Senator Stefano, today to see if there were any updates in regard to the state budget, and he said no movement at this point. So we're kind of just stuck in limbo waiting for the state to get their budget allocations together. What I can say is we will have our budget passed by, barring if we have a vote for it this evening, we'll have ours passed before June 30th. Unfortunately, the state is concerned because there are some items right now that with the federal funding that they're uncertain. So therefore, they're even more concerned as well. And I said, well, think about us. We have the uncertainty of the state as well as the uncertainty of the feds. Okay, so with that, as you can see, I always provide the activity fund information. With
Mr.
that,
Mondock,
yes.
I'm just sorry, real quick. I just want to raise this because I had another client ask me, there's nothing on this particular piece of information, the compilation of information concerning cyber charter schools, that if the district felt inclined to release this or put it on your website, you're free to do that. I mean, I do think that last column that talks about percentages of students who are not chronically absent
Yes.
is really telling, because we know that some students don't want to have to face the attendance expectations that you're obligated to carry out, and so they go to cyber school to try to escape that. And as you can see, like, the numbers are pretty telling in terms of how many students truly aren't attending those cyber schools that you're paying for on a day-to-day basis.
Correct. Thank you very much for pointing that out, Mr. Lucas. Okay, with that, if you want to pull up the finance presentation, please. Okay. So one of the things that I did was I highlighted any of the budgetary adjustments that were made after the May board meeting. We did reduce some subcontract amount for technology by $15,000. I did reduce the repair and maintenance cost by $10,000 because in our last SEIU agreement, the maintenance individuals have the opportunity to take some classes at CWCTC and get some certifications, which will help us pull back some of the maintenance work that we currently outsource back into the district. And then there were some employees that had retired during that time period. And that was a savings to the district of $101,643.95. Now we're going to go to some of the adjustments that were additions. We had SEIU increases, which includes the food service. It includes, which actually is a side part of our book of business, so to speak. It's not in our general fund. The maintenance workers and the custodial individuals as well. Now, that is part of the general fund budget. So with the additional wages and fringe benefits, there was an additional cost of $36,305.68. Additional maintenance wages with the CWCTC certifications. Once they get those certifications, then they earn an additional amounts to their hourly wages. I'll say that correctly. Those total increases was $54,663.52. Act 93 increases, we have added 20 days for the school police supervisor, the school safety and security coordinator, that's one person. We had 1 year of adjustments for position responsibility changes, those total increases. We saw $69,869.88, and I added an additional $2,110.55 to our contingency fund.
Can I ask you a question, Pam?
Yeah.
So where it says with Act 93 increases, where total increases, is that prior to a new Act 93 agreement?
No, that's with the new Act 93 agreement that you all will be voting on this evening.
Okay.
And that $69,000 not only includes wages, it also includes FICA and PSERS, which is 34%.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
You're quite welcome. So as I talked earlier about the state being concerned about adjustments for federal funding, we received our federal fund notifications, and I can tell you that we did see some reductions this year, which is the first time that I believe that I've seen this in my history. Title I was reduced by $6,507. Title II was reduced by $3,651, and Title IV was reduced by $1,378. With that was a reduction of $11,536. I did increase the access revenues because we have been actively working with our access program, and I can tell you the administrative assistant, Georgia, who works on that program, has done a phenomenal job, and we are seeing that in the access funding that we're getting. So therefore, the net effect of the federal allocations adjustment is going to be zero because of the additional access revenues that I see that we have been getting because of the added reporting that we have been doing recently in the past couple of years since Georgia got here. Budgetary unknowns. So the state budget, as I stated earlier, it's not promising for them to pass their budget by June 30th. As I talked to Senator Stefano today, he basically said there were no changes, nothing had moved anywhere near forward. So unfortunately, I do not believe that we're going to see a state budget by June 30th in any way, shape, or form. The cyber charter reform, House Bill 1500 did pass in the House. Will it pass in the Senate? And if so, what is that going to look like? They had talked about House Bill 1500 as $8,000 for regular ed kids, as well as a reduced rate as well for the special needs individuals. As I stated, we don't know what it's going to look like if it gets through the Senate, and if it does get through the Senate, what are those amounts going to be? It's anybody's guess. Adequacy funding, we do have an additional amount that the state did put in their allocations, but obviously until the actual budget passes from the state, we won't know for sure if we're going to get those funds. Insurance renewal, I did meet with them last week. There was a about $20,000 increase to the bill, but I can tell you that we have had a very trying year. We have had two payouts of over $400,000 from our insurance companies this year, just for two items. We did have a chiller that went down at the high school. That was over $309,000. And then over $100,000 in the middle school. We had some water damage where if you went into the one STEM room, it truly looked like it was a waterfall. So, you know, I felt thankful that the increase that we are incurring this year was only $20,000 with all of the amounts and all of the claims that we've had this year. Maintenance cost, what hasn't been addressed in the GISA project, Dr. Boone talked about that in his presentation. He did list the capital items, what years they are, what years of service we believe that they are, and what we may be facing in that situation, other items that aren't being covered under the GISA project. And then we talked about a long-range plan in building in the budget meeting and the finance meeting about SPC, because obviously that's the elephant in the room. There have been many discussions over the years, and we've talked about what our next steps might be.
Can I ask you some questions about that slide?
Yes.
Okay, the first one was adequacy funding, and when we had the budget meeting, I thought you used a figure of $500,000.
That is what we received last year. That is correct. 500 and,
We got a notice from you that we've only gotten 199,000.
no, the 199,000 was actually for access. That was the amount that we had recouped from access funding, Dr. Fike, not adequacy, access.
Oh, okay. And we got an $11,000 increase in that.
I was able, with what is showing up on the state's PDE website, the FAI account, with what I had currently had budgeted as far as access revenues, I felt definitely safe in adding the additional $11,000 to access.
Okay, we got 599,000 adequacy funding this year.
No, we received, I believe it was $536,000 in adequacy funding that we weren't counting on. That's part of the right to know adequacy funding, or not right to know, ready to learn, almost same initials. And with that being said, they talked about giving us an additional $536,000 for next year. And as I mentioned in my Finance Committee meeting, we have some expenditures that are in the budget that are allocated to adequacy funding that matches the adequacy revenue. And as we talked in the board meetings, I believe it was last month, or was it the month before, Dr. Boone, that we hired someone for adequacy?
The past two.
The past two, okay. So obviously, if we don't receive that funding, then we have to revisit that and
What are you allowed to spend that money on, adequacy funding?
Classroom reduction,
What?
classroom reduction, so hiring more teachers, tutoring programs, resources,
Did you say computer programs?
computer programs,
He said to.
technology.
Tutoring programs.
However, whatever you want to use for tutoring programs, be it print or technology. So there are just certain things, specific positions that are hard to find. They're pretty precise in what you can spend that money on.
Okay,
Special ed's one of them.
and of course, I think it's crystal clear, there is no such thing as a long-range plan in existence for the primary center. There is no plan at all for the primary center. If there is, I haven't seen it.
Dr. Fike, weren't you just at that committee meeting where we discussed this?
Yeah, and there was no plan. Well, there was a lot of talk, but there's no plan.
We discussed.
Because the plan is, are we going to tear it down? Are we going to fix it? Are we going to replace it? Are we going to close it? I mean, that's all, there was no plan. Tell me the plan, Stephanie. What was the plan?
Yeah, I think we're in the process of coming up with what the plan is.
Well, that's why I say, there is no plan right now.
Coming up
We're
with the-
talking about the plan.
But that's one of the reasons why we placed it on the budgetary unknowns, because we want to start developing a plan of what we're going to do with that building in the future. That's why it was brought up.
Okay, well, if you look at the item above it, the maintenance cost, using that big screen, there were literally millions of dollars of things that are not covered under the $33 million loans that we have right now. And there was, I think the superintendent said, well, you're going to have to find a way to pay for it. And a lot of those things that we assumed were covered under the GISA project are not. And that was a very significant item.
Well,
I
if you
think,
assume
first
they
of
were
all-
covered, that's probably your
I think,
first
first of all, there's a little bit of misinformation in what you just said. The $33 million is our total debt service.
That's our total debt.
Not the cost of the GISA project. So those are two different things.
No, the
And
GISA
I think
no.
that we've had so many presentations on the GISA project and what the scope of it was, that if you assumed anything about it, then that was sort of like on you, because they were very clear with what it covered from the beginning.
But
And
I
there
didn't
wasn't any,
know.
I'm speaking,
Go ahead,
that's what you say to me.
go ahead.
So I don't think that there was ever any misrepresentation about what was going to be covered. So I think that maybe you assumed, but I feel like their presentations were very clear about what it entailed.
You missed my point, Stephanie. I know about what was covered. What I didn't know was that long, long list of things that was not covered. That's the problem.
Well,
That was omitted. I did not know that until that last budget
I don't believe it
meeting.
was omitted as much as if this is what is covered, then everything else isn't. I mean, if
Yeah, I
you'd come
guess-
to some of our events, you would be familiar with our facilities and know what our facilities are and what types of repairs that they're in need of.
But it was just a long, multi-screen list,
And it's
boilers,
great.
and, for example, 3 boilers at $1 million or something. I mean, it just went on and on and on. I had no idea that none of that was included.
And I think that it's fabulous that we actually have a list now that we can look at our assets and say.
We saw the list, yeah.
And I think it's great. Thank you, Dr. Boone, for putting that together
Yeah.
so that we now can look and say, oh my goodness, look how much of this stuff was let go for so many years because taxes were never raised and everything was just left go
How are we going to pay for those things?
by raising
How
taxes.
are we going to pay for those things, that big, long list of things?
Because everything was just let go to where it's not in good condition
How are we going to pay for those things?
with money, Dr. Fike.
We going to borrow more money?
I don't know because I don't have a crystal ball. But right now, what you're saying is you assumed things that weren't necessarily true. So I just wanted to clarify that it was very clear from the beginning what the GISA project entailed.
Well, I was very puzzled because when I looked at the loan amount, and I called Lori to verify it, in the minutes of the meeting, you will see that the board voted to borrow up to $19 million. Somehow, that number became $16.5 million. And I was wondering how that number was calculated.
I don't think that's what we're talking about right now in this.
Well, it's
But that
up
was
to
also addressed at
19
the
million.
last
It's up to 19 million.
It was also addressed at the last meeting, why it ended up that way.
How was that number calculated? Where did the 16.5 million come from? I saw 19 million in the minutes.
It's the discussion
Call
that
to
you had
order.
with your bond counsel about you got authorization to go to 19, but you knew that you were only going to go to 16. And he assured the board in this room that he wouldn't go a penny over what the board actually authorized. That's my recollection.
I know all that, Mr. Lucas. Where did the 16 million decision come? Who made the decision to borrow 16
The
million?
board did.
When? I saw the minutes and it says up to 19. I never heard that number before. I heard 13 million. I heard the number 13 million, which was the original Giza project, and I heard the number 19 million
this is
that the
your-
board authorized up to 19 million. But I want to know where the 16 point some million dollar figure came from.
So I don't have the information directly in front of me, but here's what I can tell you. $13,350,000 was new money. That was the amount that was borrowed for the GISA project. The balance of the $16 million that we borrowed was to refinance the loan from 2022. It was a lower rate of interest, and it was determined whenever the bond counsel came and spoke with you all several times, and the statement was made, if we can save you money by refinancing the 2022 loan, we will do so. That is what they did. So that is how it ended up I believe it's 16.4 million. And with that being said, the two loans from 2021 were not being refinanced because their rates of interest was below 1%. You're never going to see any savings by refinancing those, so that's why those two were left untouched. But that's why you have $13,350,000 of new money, and the balance of the 16.4 was to pay off the 2022 loan at a discounted amount. I believe we saved $117,000 by refinancing that loan.
That was a great.
Who made the decision that it was a 16.5 million figure? Who made that decision?
That was made when the board voted. The bond counsel was here twice, talking and explaining that that is typical how they do that whenever they fund bonds, that it gives them the leverage to move within the markets so that they can get us the best value for our bond issuance.
Okay, can you show me anywhere in the minutes of this board that number was 16.5 million? In the minutes, can you show me anywhere in writing, anywhere in
It's
writing?
working off the topic of what Pam actually needs to speak about.
I I'd like to answer. So on the March 18th minutes from the meeting, if you look under bond discussion, it says, "It was explained that the district isn't borrowing $19 million. This is just the parameters the resolution needs to be written in to fit within a box/range. It is worded not to exceed. There are protections in the bond document that limit the district to $13,350,000 as a project deposit after the bonds are sold. This helped open up the bonds to be sold at a good time rather than on a set fixed date. Explained he's here to make sure the district follows the process according to this Local Government Unit Debt Act. Explained the bonds before, during, and after approval by the state. Further explained how it is written up to fit within that box and the not to exceed clause. However, you can still not borrow more than you need. This just helps open them up to be sold at a good time. Every school in Pennsylvania does it this way." Shall I go on? This is in the minutes.
No, thank you.
Can you show me anywhere in the minutes where it says that loan is $16 million? Show me that figure anywhere in writing in the minutes, anywhere.
Just continue, Ms. Monduck, with your presentation.
Okay.
It went from 13 to 19 to
Wait,
16.
let me just answer her. That way she can't accuse anybody of doing anything crazy, because I just found it. Okay. The old higher interest debt would only be included in this if they can guarantee a savings for the district. Otherwise, they will not do anything with that. The debt with 1% interest will not change. Dr. Fike asked for further explanation on Exhibits A and B, which are legally required documents by the state of Pennsylvania, from the documents of the resolution of the bond motion. Exhibit B is the district's current debt plus the maximum schedule Exhibit A. However, this isn't what the district will borrow. It's just to create a box to fit in. Do you like my storytelling abilities? I thought you all would enjoy that.
That has been
It
read
only
in-
shows the maximum amounts, but it is not what we will actually borrow.
And where is it in the minutes what we actually borrowed? Where is that written in the minutes that this board borrowed 16 and some million?
Not to exceed 19, I think is how it's stated.
I think that I've just answered your question in several different manners, but
Well,
it's
who
not
made that
what you
decision?
want.
I just want to know who made that decision.
The board did.
The
board
Voted
did.
on it.
Board voted.
Show me where that 16 million is in the minutes, in the minutes.
Just read it. It said do not exceed 19 million.
I didn't ask about
Holy
that.
crap.
I did not ask about that.
Okay.
I asked
All
where
right,
the...
again.
I asked where the
Again.
16...
Again.
It's okay, Nicole,
Monduck.
why wasn't it 18 million? Why wasn't it 12 million? Why
Because
wasn't
there's
it...
a certain percentage that
Okay.
the state
Okay,
requires
we're
us
moving
that
on.
we have to borrow. It
We are
says
moving
it
on.
in the minutes.
We are moving on.
That is not in the
We
minutes.
are moving on.
It is not in the minutes of this board that we borrowed that money.
Ms. Monduck.
Okay.
You may
Nobody
continue.
voted on it. Nope, okay.
Ms. Monduck, you may continue.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want to go to the next sheet, please? Thank you. So with that being said, the total expenses for this year's 25-26 budget is $37,104,530.52. Local revenues is $15,845,513. State, $20,492,306.52. And federal, $766,711, which gives us a balanced budget. Now, with that, with the local, that includes a increase of .77 mils for Fayette County, which that includes rebalancing of .113 mils and an increase of .6587 mils, which is roughly a $3.68 per month in the median
Household income,
household, thank you.
house value.
Yeah, house value, thank you. Westmoreland County tax rate is 97.70, which is an increase of 1.99 mils, which their increase is $1.91 per month. Their median is $11,500. And homestead, farmstead exclusions this year have increased from $349.15 of last year to $399.50, which reflects a credit increase of $50.35. So for some people that have the homestead, farmstead, they won't even notice an increase, which is always helpful.
Pam, do you
Pam,
mind?
has the state guaranteed us 20 million?
I
was
was
at the
asking a
floor.
question.
Thank you.
On where you have homestead, farmstead exclusions, where it changed in amount now, is that per year?
It depends, that is all comes from SLOT. revenue.
Okay.
So it depends upon how individuals actually go and gamble for the year.
Okay.
Last year it was 1.4 million something. This year it's 1.6 million. So obviously we did see a rather healthy increase of $50.35 in the credit, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Pam, are we guaranteed $20,492,307 from the state?
Well, as I've stated before, that is, nothing is 100% with the state at this point in time. I typically budget revenues conservatively because I would much rather have a conservative estimate of a revenue than basically going guns a-blazing and end up in a situation where we're having to pull from the fund balance.
What happens if we don't get that?
Then what we will have to do is what other school districts have to do when they get in that situation. They end up tapping the fund balance.
Using our savings?
Yes, just like home, whenever you have something that you're not anticipating and you've been saving money and I've just had this situation myself.
Ma'am,
I
does
had
that-
to replace an air conditioner, not something I wanted to do, but I had money in my savings and I pulled it out and paid for it. That's the same type of situation.
Is that $20,492,000, is that the same thing we got last year, or is it more?
It is more,
A lot more?
yes.
I can understand that it's more. I mean, we've had such an incredible increase in everything,
Yes,
from energy to food to everything. So
correct. And unfortunately, the school districts are not isolated from that.
Right.
We suffer the increases just like everybody else does.
And what did we get last year from the state?
I would have to look into that and get back to you.
Off the top of your head, it don't have to be.
I don't want to give you an incorrect number, Mr. Accipiter, so let me look it up and I'll get back to the board on that, okay?
I would just like to say that for the public, whenever Mrs. Mondock does get back to us about things, she actually does follow up with very clear and concise information. I know that there was questions about the refinance. It appears that Dr. Fike had called Ms. Mondock on June 10th asking questions about the refinance of that 2022 loan that would have taken that to $16 million. And so that day, Ms. Mondock provided the board with an email where it was clearly listed in the March 18th General Obligation Bond Summary Notice and on page 5 of the 2025 resolution. And also at the board meeting in February, the bonds team explained that if it were to be refinanced to save us money, that they would do that for us. And there was 4 attachments provided. So I do believe that Dr. Fike must have already talked to Ms. Mondock about this on June 10th. And that's where that $16 million number came from, is she made a phone call. And so that was explained. And then we were provided information. So I just want everybody to know in the public that when Ms. Mondock says, I will provide you with more information, or I need to check into that, she actually does follow up on that and is very thorough. So we appreciate the work that she
I
does.
still didn't get an answer to my question, where did the 16 million some number come from? That's what I want to know.
Okay.
Who made that decision?
Ms. Mondock, anything else?
That will do it. That summarizes my report. Thank you.
WIU report? CWCTC report, sorry.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. WIU report?
The last meeting of the intermediate unit was held on May 27th, 2025. There were 9 people present and 8 people absent, and we are barely making a required number to have a
quorum?
quorum, yeah. We've got one person on speaker. I guess maybe that's how they did it, but we're having a serious issue with attendance at the meetings. They gave out a number of awards. They gave out the Annie Sullivan Award, and that was named for the educator of Helen Keller. They gave out the Outstanding Paraeducator Award, that is an individual who supports both teachers and students. And then they gave out something called a WIU Innovation Award to Tim Hamill. Tim Hamill's been there for about as long as I can remember there was an IU, and he is leaving. And he has been the moving force for tremendous amounts of innovation at the IU. They gave the IU Impact Award to a new employee who was awarded for excellence. And they gave an Inspiration Award to Joe Rice. And I believe at one point Joe Rice did safety for them, didn't he, Jason?
I'm sorry, can you ask that again?
Joe Rice, didn't he also do safety before? He was a principal before, is he? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he continued to do that while he was covering the principalship.
Right. And so they gave a number of awards. And then they talked about some new people that they had hired, some student service supervisors, and a new principal at Clearview. And it's a man. He has 10 years' experience. He's been in the Navy, he moved around a lot, but he is a principal, and he's doing a very nice job there. And then there were two other things of significance.
Dr. Fike, how much are they paying their principal?
I don't know. I don't have that information.
Could you get back to me on that? I'm just curious if
I
there's,
think it's on the internet.
okay, I'll do my own.
Anyhow, what they did do, they did not approve a quote with Reed Smith to provide a review of all employment contracts for the purpose of meeting ACA compliance. And that's been a pretty heavy issue that's been discussed at the IU for several months now. The other thing is they postponed, every school district has a PSBA liaison, and the IU has to have one. But if you're already your district liaison, you can't be the IU liaison. And almost everybody up there was already the district liaison, so they don't have one right now, so I don't know how they're going to do that, but they'll postpone that for another meeting. It's my understanding that there's a meeting at the IU tonight. It's going on tonight, but since Southmoreland rescheduled theirs,
No, it says on their website it was actually canceled due to the lack of a quorum.
what did you say?
It says on their website that it was canceled due to a lack of a quorum.
What? Oh,
That meeting was
The meeting.
no.
Yes.
They're using people on Zoom.
It says right here.
tonight's meeting was canceled.
Oh,
Canceled.
tonight's what? Let's see, I wouldn't know about it, Stephanie, because
That's why I was just letting you know that you didn't miss anything.
okay, well, then maybe well, let's see, this is the end of June, so I don't know when, they don't meet in July, so they would meet again in August. But they were to meet tonight. I did not know it was canceled. I would have no way of knowing that because I had called and told them that I wouldn't be there anyhow, so they didn't bother to call me back. So, okay, well, thank you for telling me that.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you. Next, we have committee reports. Tonight, we'll have Buildings and Grounds, Finance, District Operations and Transportation, and School Safety and Security to discuss. The other ones, we have not had meetings since our last meeting. Buildings and Grounds, Mrs. O'Rear.
So due to the fact that I was not at last meeting due to work obligation, my understanding is that we do have the chillers in. I did overhear that? Okay.
We had other members attend.
Okay. Can anybody else fill in?
Anybody that was there?
Chiller's in, it's installed, and they're hooking up the electricity. The coil is due in for up at this school building, we've got a new lawnmower that's in service. The wall is done. It has to be capped, right? It has to be capped. What else do we do?
Scoreboard?
Pardon? Scoreboard's in, not hooked up. It's not hooked up yet. What else, Calvin? Well, he knows.
He knows.
He knows. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
The sidewalk repairs are done at the primary center. The dock has now been completed. We're just waiting for the handrail. The concrete's still green, so we have to wait for that to harden to drill it and bolt it. Scoreboard's up, speakers up. They're in the process now of wiring the scoreboard. So everything's moving along.
And that's what they were doing over at SPC, correct? I did see him over there a couple days.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Lovely. Okay. Thank you for the, collaboration. Appreciate it.
we're waiting for light bulbs. How many? So the whole district,
Just a couple.
9,000 light bulbs.
part of the project.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, thank you. Finance, District Operations, and Transportation, Mrs. Guyer.
We did hold a meeting, I guess that was last week. When was that? The 16th, last Monday. And basically, we went over everything that Ms. Mondock already presented. That was the same presentation we had. We all were given the opportunity to ask any questions and review all of that. Additionally, as mentioned, we did discuss what we want to do as a long-range plan for SPC. When do we want to start it? So there was discussion earlier that there is no long-range plan, but, you know, for the first time in forever, not to quote Elsa, you know, we actually are having this conversation. So it's in the beginning stages. I don't think any conversation for a long-range plan goes from, hey, let's start the conversation, to we have the plan completed in one committee meeting. As with anything, it's going to take time to work through it and decide what's going to be best for our students and our communities and our, you know, our budget and all of the things that go into that. It's not something we can just, you know, scratch out on paper over one committee meeting. So I thought it was great that we actually started having that conversation, and I thought Dr. Fike would actually appreciate that because she has been asking for that for several years, to have that conversation. So I thought she would be pleased that that finally has hit the to-do list of things to talk about. So, and we did get a good overview, as was mentioned, of all of the assets in the district. Let me just actually pull it up. Is that under is that connected?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
So it is a capital assets list, and it is extensive. What it entails is basically every item that we have in the district that is considered a capital asset. So the buildings themselves, maintenance buildings, the field house, tennis courts, track, the gymnasium floors are, you know, things that, you know, basketball hoops, baseball field, bleachers in the buildings, wrestling mats, vans, all of our vehicles are on here, and also our lawn equipment, our playgrounds, the parking lots, because those all cost a lot of money, our roofs on all of the buildings, generators, fire panels, boilers, chillers, et cetera. And then it also lists out an extensive, you know, when was that last purchased or installed? When was it last renovated? What is the life expectancy of said item? You know, what is the approximate replacement cost of said item? Because this sort of leads into not a long-term plan just for SPC, but a long-term plan for all of our facilities of, hey, we're going to end up with all of these things that are, the life expectancy is going to be up at the same time. And, you know, maybe we need to, how can we long-term budget plan for some of these things rather than, oops, we forgot to save up and now we're on the hook for needing, you know, all of this, you know, replacements and repairs needing done at the same time. So I thought that was really great to see a list rather than just, hey, this is, you know, things are in need of repair around here, but hey, this is the last time it was repaired. This is what it cost then. This is how long it's expected to last, and this is how many years it's been. So I did appreciate that because it's a nice one page. Well, it might be more than one page, but snapshot.
I condensed and done.
It might be a ledger-sized page, actually, of information. So I think it's great for the board to have this kind of information. This is not something we had ever really been provided before as an overall snapshot of what the district's assets are and when they were last replaced. So thank you for preparing that.
This was created in December and shared in December, January, and February, and March as we went through the discussion and voting process of the GISA project. I just updated it recently right now and kind of combined items and chunked them, buildings, vehicles, so forth. So thank you.
Well, I was at that meeting too, and there's a couple things that I was very concerned about. And one is the length of that list and the cost of all of those things. And I made the statement, I said, you know, where are we going to get money to pay for that? Because it's not included. And I made the statement, we already owe $83,464,000, to which Mr. Grabiak threw up his hands and says, "What's 33 million?" Well, I want to tell you what 33 million is. It's taxpayer money that is food off their table, the shelter in their home. They had to pay for insurance, transportation, any future savings, medical expenses, and everything they need to survive. That's what 33 million is to our taxpayers, Mr. Grabiak. Not, what's 33 million? This is 33
You'd
million.
have done your job over the past few years, or maybe 15 or 16 years, we wouldn't be in this.
You were also on the board. What did you
Wouldn't be in this
do?
position. Every time it come to maintenance, you cut, so.
What did you do?
Within that 33 million, by the way, since it's sitting here on the table, that also provides a roof over our heads here and our students and our employees, correct? Okay.
And one of the
On 4 buildings, a roof on 4 buildings, right? And so they're dry and they're able to learn.
Right.
Oh, there's boilers and chillers so that they're not too hot and not too cold.
And one thing that I will say is I have put back in what is called designated fund balance for capital improvements. And right now, we have $1.6 million out there. So we are trying to begin saving for some of those items in the future so that, God forbid, if something happens, we do have some money specified specifically for capital improvements. So we have developed the list. We are working as we get money in our fund balance to designate it specifically for capital improvements so that we are preparing for some of those items in the future.
So as usual, you are doing a good job, another good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
We started out just maybe a couple years ago with 50,000. That was our first initial move, and that stayed like that for a long time.
Yep. So, and that's one of the things that,
Yeah, we didn't have that before, so.
correct. We didn't have it before, and that's why I'm on my.
Wonder where all that money went.
Yeah.
That's why I'm on my soapbox with the cyber charter. If we could save some money there.
My
then
gosh, yeah.
We could put more money towards
Yeah.
the savings for capital improvements. So that, God forbid, when they come, let's hope and pray they don't hit all at the same time. We have money set aside to do some of those items.
Yes.
And I think it's great, too, that for the first time in a really long time, you can actually drive around the district and see things are looking
Yeah.
better.
Yes.
Yes.
When you drive through our complex, it's looking nicer. And I know a lot of people make fun of the Scotty red paint and everything, but in comparison to a lot of other districts, things had really just kind of gotten let go for a while. So it's nice to see some physical improvements along with all of the educational improvements that we're making.
All right. School safety and security, Mr. Yotzi.
Yeah, so we met on June 9th. We discussed several changes and upcoming with the personnel. Mr. Kiefer went over tonight in executive session the annual school safety and security report. We discussed how the drill went for the high school, as well as the rollout for the new radios that are district-wide. And similar to buildings and grounds, started planning and discussing kind of long-term what are our needs that we need to start budgeting and looking at. Next meeting will be September 22nd.
Perfect, thank you.
I apologize, real quick. I think I forgot to mention, the next building and grounds meeting will be October 13th.
Thank you. There are no student reports.
Okay, next section is school board.
Meeting minutes. The board is asked to approve the following meeting minutes. May 15th, 2025, special discussion voting meeting. May 22nd, 2025, discussion voting meeting.
So moved.
Need a second.
Second, sorry.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Board docs. The board is asked to approve the renewal of Board Docs LT as the third party at a cost of $2,300 for the 2025-2026 fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
Why does it say Bill 2 and it has the address of Pennsylvania School Boards Association?
I believe because PSBA essentially now obtains a discount rate for you through Board Docs because Board Docs has developed a relationship with PSBA.
Okay. So is that who we would pay then? Is PSBA or we pay Diligent?
I do not know that.
Okay. Because it's a little bit confusing to see an invoice and then it doesn't have that it's being billed to us, but we're paying for it.
We probably get a group rate,
Okay.
I would imagine, because we are members of PSBA also.
I hope. Sure, I guess. I mean, if we're paying for it, it should have our billing address and everything on it. Yeah. I mean, being that it's a binding document.
We might not be the.
It's an invoice. I mean,
Yeah, it's actually, it states that it's a quote. So,
Okay.
and it's billed, you're right, it is billed to the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, but I do know there have been times specifically when not only the School Board Association gets a discount, same thing with PASBO. On occasion, there have been things with the IU that the IU has gotten, and then because they did it in a group rate type thing, they were able to pass on the savings to all the school districts.
Okay.
all right, on to the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Next section is policies.
Policy updates, second and final read. The board is asked to approve the following policies that have been posted for over 30 days. And you can see those online. Need a motion?
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Discussion?
I thought,
Restrictions on the service animals?
Well, so the restrictions would be those service animals that are permitted under the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then secondly, they have to be ones that are specifically prescribed by a doctor. And there are certainly some restrictions in the regs in terms of what can be a proper service animal.
But that includes horses.
It does, and it's so strange because it's always called out in the policy, but I've heard enough places say, yeah, I mean, you'd have to have that kind of circumstances in which it's prescribed to a student for that specific need, and then obviously you have to make certain accommodations within a classroom, make sure there weren't.
But you're not allowed to ask what that need is.
Well, so it's different, though, when you're talking about a therapy animal or a service animal that's in as part of a student's IEP. That's a little bit, that's different than the circumstances where you've got an invitee. I mean, it's not easy to navigate, but that's unfortunately the current state of the regs.
To the vote. All those in favor?
aye.
Opposed?
I want my vote recorded as yes on number 103, and yes under number 104, and no on all of the rest of them.
Next section is personnel.
Personnel log. The board is asked to approve the personnel log for June 24th, 2025 as attached. All salaries are included and all clearances are current and on file with the administration.
So do.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Did Dr. Fike have a question? Dr. Fike, did you have a question that you didn't get to ask?
Too late, it's already voted on.
Okay. PA Educator renewal. The board is asked to approve the renewal with PA Educator for the 25-26 school year at a cost of $1,750.
So do.
Second.
Discussion?
Describe this PA educator.
This is an online service we use to help identify teachers for professional positions here.
It's an online service, and it costs $1,750.
Yes.
Who watches it?
I mean, Mrs. McTavish has access to it, I have access to it, the principals have access to it to identify prospective employees.
I use it to advertise every professional position.
You advertise on it. Okay, I did not know that. That's why I was asking for a description. You advertise on it. Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Sorry, real quick, I did want to, like, it's a yearly thing?
Yes.
Okay. I see where it says, like, due date 8/1/2025, but I didn't see, like, when the contract would end, but it is a full year.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a yearly service.
Okay.
To the vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is Act 93 agreement. The board is asked to approve the district administrator's Act 93 agreement for the time period from July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2030.
So do.
I ask we table this.
Sure, it just needs to be seconded.
Okay, all right.
To be on the floor, and then you can table it.
Second.
Okay.
It was.
What?
Okay.
So Mr. Grabiak moved it, Mr. Yotzi seconded it, and,
I ask that we table this.
okay.
I second that.
Yotzi seconded. So we have to vote on.
On the tabling, correct.
So all those in favor of tabling
We have a roll call on that then?
F3.
So
Okay.
roll call.
Roll
on the
call
table.
vote for tabling F3.
Discussion on the table. That is to go back and restart. That's, the tabling includes restarting those negotiations.
Well, the motion was just
No.
to table
It's
it.
just,
To table this motion.
Okay, all right, okay.
and then Mr. Olson.
All good? Mr. Recipiter?
Yes, to table it.
Mr. Yotzi?
Yes.
Dr. Flake?
Yes.
Mr. Frund?
No.
Mrs. Geyer?
No.
Mr. Grabiak?
No.
Mrs. Orvier?
No.
Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Shipley?
No.
4 to 5.
Okay, now that it's all out in the public, we can talk about it. Is that right, Mr. Lucas?
Correct, the motion's still on the floor.
We can give all the details, right?
So the motion stands now. We're not tabling it. It's on the floor.
We can do that at the end of the meeting. We can do
So,
that at the end of the meeting.
Did we never got a second for the actual motion,
No,
so,
you did.
I thought we did.
I thought
That
Mr.
was
Yotzi did.
Yotzi.
I have Mr. Grabiak and Mr. Yotzi for the motion, and Mr. Olson and Dr. Flake for the tabling.
okay. All right, sorry. So discussion.
Do they want to pass it now?
Yeah, no, it's discussion on passing it.
Going to pass it.
No discussion.
No, it's a
No discussion?
on what,
Roll call vote.
At what point?
Wayne, this is discussion on the Act 93 agreement itself, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm calling for discussion. For the
You can discuss now.
Okay, so we can go down the list and we can tell everybody what's in it. Is that right? Mr. Lucas, is that
This is
right?
for the purpose of discussing the motion. So if you want to say, I'm going to vote no on the motion, and here's why, you're obviously free to do that, but I think you should consider this your opportunity to discuss your position on the agreement.
Okay, so you said that what I should say is that I am not going to vote on the motion, and I would like to tell you why. I'd like to tell the public why.
And
Is that correct?
That's typically how people would handle these
Okay.
situations.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about Act 93, which consists of 11 people, but I only dealt with 8 of them because there were some that I didn't have adequate information. First of all, let's give you the trifecta winner. We have one person on this list whose raise for the first year is $18,740. That is the first year's raise only. $18,740. The other raises are $9,250, $9,131, $3,700 and some dollars, $7,960, $2,991, and $1,021 in addition to the $18,740. This averages, when you add these all up and divide by this, they average an 8% raise. An 8% raise. The information we were provided does not include their present salary. There was no listing whatsoever as to their present salary and then where it was going for the first year. And if you look at the chart for the first year, well, for the second, third, fourth, and fifth, it says 3%, 3%, 3%, 3%. But for the first year, there's one word, and it says adjusted, adjusted, adjusted. And that includes up to a 28% raise. Southmoreland is not a wealthy district. We are paying out multi-millions of dollars in Act 93. Now remember, this was only for 8 people. 8 people, we have hundreds of employees, 8 people. And that's just the beginning of why I resent this very, very much. I think this was a terrible, terrible thing to do to our
So
taxpayers.
there's only that many people, though, who are in the Act 93 agreement, right? The other employees tend to have their own agreements, you know?
Or contracts, yes.
So, exactly.
What concerns me is recent contracts have been 3%. 3%. This one is 8%.
And why wasn't the board as a whole bring up the date on this? Until it sprang on us. Who was involved in the negotiation?
So I think we've now discussed this several times, that there is a negotiating committee.
Right.
Neither of you are on it because you can't be trusted with confidential information.
You do have a say-so when we vote.
We were provided this.
We have no input in the contracts at all. Is that
Because
fair?
you leaked
Vote on it.
confidential information. That is why we've discussed this several times. We didn't just get sprung this tonight. We were provided this on June 17th, which was a whole week ago. So it wasn't just sprung on us tonight.
All week, we had no input.
For 6 months.
Because you can't be trusted with confidential information.
No, I hear
You
you're
gave
the
it
big
to a
leak.
reporter.
I heard you're the big leak. I heard you're the one who's putting
All right,
stuff out.
so just to address the concerns about these particular raises, the negotiating committee did look at what county averages are, where our people landed, what the responsibilities are of our people, what was equitable and what was fair across the board. So there was a lot of time and consideration into, the whole plan. We met several times with that group. We, as a committee, worked to do what was best, for everybody involved, the district included. So if there's no more discussion,
Can I ask?
Oh, no, there's discussion.
Where does this put us in the 17 districts in this county?
you said that.
Third from the bottom.
Third from the bottom.
The salaries
Yep.
are third from the bottom. Okay, tell everybody how you calculated those salaries.
What?
I think he just did.
Yeah, I did.
He's not on trial, okay? Like,
Yeah, I just went through that. So if there's no other discussion, we can vote.
I do have one quick question. I wanted to possibly, so there is an increase when it comes to particular employees who are in the Act 93. But there's also too where they have, hold on, let me reverse this. So they're taking on also another set of job titles that would allow them to have this increase. It's not like they're just getting this for no reason. There's increases that should be made because they're taking on even more jobs. So that needs to be put out there.
Yeah.
I think, too, it's important to note that our administrators did, in their last contract, get very small increases.
They had 1.6%.
1.6%. So I think that a lot of our people in this contract are doing really good work for our district, and they work really hard to make this a better place for our kids and our facilities a better place for our kids. And so I think that, saying that they're undeserving of this is not fair to the hard work and dedication that they put in. So I think that's the part where Mr. Friend explained that, was taken into consideration a lot of different factors.
Question.
Can I continue with the reason I'm not voting for this? I'd like to read the present salaries for these individuals.
We haven't voted on it.
This is
That's
discussion.
confidential until it is voted on.
Discussion. This is the reason.
No, you cannot discuss it
He
because.
said I could. He said I
No,
could.
he didn't.
I didn't say that you could, like, those are not salaries until they're voted on by this board.
She could say the salary that you're getting now plus the increase, how much, is 8%, right?
Yeah,
I already
8%.
read the increases.
But she didn't read the base salaries from 24, 25.
No, she already said what the percentage increases.
They were not included in the
Look at it at this point.
calculations.
So we're going to read to the public what's posted?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen of the public, you're not going to hear what these salaries are, but you will.
You've already, yeah, I mean, you've already indicated what the increases are. You've already indicated what the percentage increases are.
Well, then why can't I give the salaries?
Existing salaries are already public record, a matter of public record, because they've been approved, they've been voted on by the board. But until they're voted on by the board, it's not a public record. You've already indicated that your position is that the salaries are too high. I think that's well understood.
I'm having trouble figuring out what you're saying, Mr. Lucas. You're talking out of one side of your mouth one time, another side of your mouth the other. I want to tell the people why I'm not going to vote on it.
But you told us you're not going to vote on it.
I'm going to tell you why.
We don't care.
If six
I
of you
don't.
want to call the question, you're always free to call the question so that you can vote.
The public cares. The public cares.
Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But you can do that. You know, you
It'll
tend to do
become-
a speech
it'll
at the end of the
become-
meetings.
It will
What did
become a
she
public
say? Maybe
document
they
as soon
do,
as it's
maybe they
voted on.
don't.
All right, if there's no other discussion, let's do a roll call vote.
Mr. Yotzi?
Yes.
Dr. Flake?
No.
Mr. Frund?
Yes.
Mrs. Geyer?
Yes.
Mr. Grabiak?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rear?
No.
Mr. Olson?
No.
Mr. Shipley? Mr. Acipiter?
No.
5-4.
Was it 5-4 in favor?
5-4 in favor, yes.
Sorry, I just couldn't.
ESY nurse rate. The board is asked to approve the following 2025.
Excuse me, can you specify to me who the 5 were who voted for this
You were.
document?
Did a roll
We're
call.
on to the next one.
I couldn't hear. Can you tell me who they were?
It's Mr. Shipley, Ms.
A
Geyer,
minute.
Okay, Shipley, Geyer,
Grabiak,
Rabiak.
Well, if the three of you voted no and I voted no, that's 4. The rest voted yes.
Those are the 4 that.
On to number 4, please.
Front.
Call to order.
And Yutzi.
The board is asked to
Shipley,
approve the
Geyer,
following
Grabiak,
2025
Condon.
extended school year ESY rate. Assistant nurse, $40.67 an hour.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Next section is education.
Band Summer Leadership Camp. The board is asked to approve the request for 8 Southmoreland band students escorted by Sean Harris and Jamie Gore to participate in the Blue Way Camp June 25th and 26th, 2025 at the University of Mount Union
So moved.
Second.
at no cost to the district. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Was there a second?
We got a
Okay.
second, yeah. Discussion. All those in favor?
I just want to make it clear, I have a child in the marching band.
Thank you.
that is not a conflict of interest.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Unless you
Thank
want to
you.
vote no, so you don't have to set, so I'm just kidding.
No, she's not going to that. so.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Band Disney trip. The board will be asked to approve the request for a marching band trip to Walt Disney and other various locations in Florida from Sunday, March 22nd, 2026 to Wednesday, March 25th, 2026 at no cost to the district as attached.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Again,
I do. I know in past times when when this has come up, we had talked about like an administrator going. So now, is that something that we vote on still with an administrator going? Or,
There is an administrator going on that.
okay, now, is that administrator cost to the district or no cost to the district? Are they on their own to pay for that trip?
That gets picked up from everything that the
From-
organization pays for.
From the organization, okay.
I have a
Okay.
question. Was there an administrator on their recent trip? And why or why not?
I can find out. I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't believe there was. I was just curious why we chose not. If that's our policy, I think we should enforce it.
They do, yeah, I recall that.
Yeah, it was
Set a
any
policy.
time out of state.
Oh, so maybe it was because it was in state.
That's probably it.
Okay. I was just curious.
out of state overnight. Those were the stipulations.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Educational Student Services Agreements. The board is asked to approve the following educational student services: the Western PA School for the Deaf, Imagine Learning, and Presley Ridge, Greensburg.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Next section is finance.
The board is asked to approve the following monthly financial reports, all attached. Number 1, Treasurer's Report. Number 2, General Fund Board Summary Report. Number 3, Fund Accounting, Capital Fund, and Food Service Check Summary Listing.
So do.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Final budget resolution. The board is asked to approve the 2025-2026 final budget with revenues in the amount of $37,104,530 and expenditures of $37,104,530, which includes a tax increase of 1.99 mils for Westmoreland County and .6587 mils for Fayette County.
So do.
Second.
Second.
Discussion.
Lots of discussion. In the year 25-26, I questioned some payments, and at the time, I presented 5 documents that I had received. The first one, then the second one was not right for the first, and the next one wasn't right, next one wasn't right, next one was. I was told, it's because the budget was evolving. Well, from the very first time that budget number was offered, it was in excess of $37 million. It never changed the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, or the sixth time. I want to know how that evolved.
As I've explained several times, Dr. Fike, whenever you work on a budget, and I've been very transparent showing you what transpires from one month to the next. The last 2 months, I can tell you from May to now, there haven't been any changes because I was able to basically put funds in one slot to the other. So if I had an expenditure here, then I looked to see where I could cut there, or where, for example, the savings that we were realizing from people retiring, those type things. So with that being said, that's why we ended up at $37,104,530. You know, nothing nefarious is going on, I assure you. It's just, there were times, there was one board meeting, I remember, one finance committee meeting, it was down to 36 million again. A budget is more or less a living, breathing document. It's, you know, as you learn, for example, as you learn what your insurances are going to cost, it changes. As you learn what your staffing is, you know, a harder, faster number with your staffing, those all are things that impact your budget.
I'm going to ask the question again. Then why did the number 37 point some million never change from January, February, March, April, May to June? That number, I just want to hear about that number and how that number and why that number never changed.
She she explained that, right? I mean, we can all agree that that was an adequate explanation.
I have no idea what you said, but I wasn't asking you a question. With all
Yeah,
due
right,
respect,
but I'm telling you the
asking-
question was already answered. Maybe
No,
you're
it
not
was not.
listening,
No,
or you're
no,
just
no, no, no,
choosing
no.
not to
All
understand.
she talked about
I'm not
was
sure.
changes in the documents. I'm talking about one figure and one figure only. $37 million never, ever, 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 ever changed.
Right, the answer to that question really has no bearing on anything that we're.
Oh, I think it does.
I don't
think
think
it was
it does.
predetermined, and all those other documents were just
Predetermined,
a
right.
bunch of stuff that justified, well, we'll spend this, we'll spend this, we'll spend this.
Right.
It was never cut. That number was never cut from the very first time it was put out there. That number was predetermined 6 months ago.
Next item.
All right, if there's no other discussion.
Oh, no,
we'll
I
move
have
to the vote.
questions. Go ahead, sir.
If we don't get the 20 million from the state, we have to take out of our general our savings, right?
Can you speak into your microphone, please? I don't think the public can hear you.
We don't get the 20 million that you're banking on from the state. We have to take whatever we have to put out of our general fund, right?
Out of the fund balance, that is correct. But it is my hope that they will rectify the situation and pass their budget by sometime in July. We would be fine. There are some districts that would have to do a tax anticipation note at that point in time. Unfortunately for us, we do not have to do that just quite yet. I will continue to monitor the situation. As I told you earlier today, I reach out to our local senator to find out what's transpiring in Harrisburg, and I will continue to do so. But, I'm sure we're going to get the majority of the money that is that I have allocated, because as I've stated earlier, whenever I budget revenues, I budget those conservatively because of the fact that I don't want us to get into a situation where I said that we're going to get $20 million and we end up getting $18 million. So that's basically what I'm saying is I'm trying to be very conservative in my numbers as far as my revenues are concerned, because I feel that's the best way that I can protect the district and the taxpayers.
All right. If there's no other discussion, we can move to the vote. Roll call?
No.
I don't think she's done discussing, is what she's trying to say.
Do you have more discussion,
Already
Dr.
called for a roll call vote.
But he's giving you the opportunity. He didn't realize that you still had more to discuss, so he's giving you that opportunity
What is
now.
she talking to me for? Is she the president?
Because I'm a human that's allowed to speak.
Is she the president of the board?
I'm just waiting for you to tell me whether you have more to say about this
Yes, I
particular
do.
topic or not.
So if we exceed our expenditures, if we don't get the amount of money you think you're going to get, we have about 2.7 million left in unassigned fund balance.
That is correct.
When that money's gone, where does it come? Where do we go next?
Well, what we would have to do then is I would have to come to you and ask you to take some of the money that is in assigned fund balance and move it back to unassigned. That is something that is allowable.
The assigned fund balance money has been promised to somebody.
It has. But if we get in a situation that you're talking about, then I can come to you and say, okay, we have $1.6 million in capital funds. We have spent all of our fund balance monies. Are you okay with me transferring this to here so that we can pay our bills, our obligations?
Pam, I've been on this board a number of times, and the one criticism that the business managers always got was do not use your fund balance to pay your bills. And that was every one of them.
And trust me, Dr. Fike, the last thing on this earth that I want to do is to have that happen. That is why I budget the revenues conservatively.
Pam, the payment on our loan next year is $3,425,000.
But you also have to subtract the $700,000 that we will be getting from the PlanCon funds. So basically, what I have done whenever I did the bond refinance, I worked with my bond team, and we did what is called a wraparound loan, which that tells you that you wrap around your debt so that it does not negatively impact your district.
Okay, we have 3 loans in 25-26. The 25 bonds, the 2021 bonds, and the 2021A bonds. You put all 3 of those together, it's called a wrap.
That is correct.
And the amount of money due on each one from the documents that we received is $3,425,944.
I'm not going to dispute that statement, but you also have to take into account the money that we get that is allocated from the state, $700,000 roughly that we get for Plan Con monies that we still have available.
Okay, and that applies to what,
And that applies
2021?
to the 21 and 21A loan only, not to the 2025.
Okay, because it says here that then you pay off that loan in 26, 27, and the final payment just for that payoff is $2,624,407. And again, you're paying $3.5 million, 27, 28 is $3.5 million, 28, 29 is $3.2 million, and then it bottoms out at $2,800,000 for the next 11 years. And I looked at these numbers,
And
and
you also have to take into account, if I may, the amount of money that we are guaranteed to get with the GISA project, which I believe was $374,000.
so these documents are not true.
No, Dr. Fike, that's what we're paying, but there are other items that factor into that. One is the Plan Con money, two is the GISA money that we are guaranteed, and if we don't receive $374,000 in savings, then Constellation guarantees they will make us whole.
Ma'am, just the salary increases alone are over $700,000. Just the salary increases are over $700,000. That wipes that out.
I'm looking at specifically the debt, which is what you were talking about now. So I was explaining that portion of it.
I just wanted to add, since we're talking about the debt, that I was reading a little further in those March 18th meeting minutes in regard to Dr. Fike's question earlier about that $16 million she kept shouting about. It does say that Ms. Mondock went on to explain the same thing in different terms. They're looking to refinance the $13.35 million plus refinance the 2022 loans, which have higher interest rates to save $117,000. It literally says total amount to be borrowed / refinanced is only going to be the new $13,350,000 plus old 2022 $4,050,000 plus closing costs. And on April 15th meeting, Dr. Fike, you did vote yes to approve those meeting minutes. So I think that you were made aware of that price. So I just wanted to circle back to that conversation that was clearly spelled out in those minutes that you did vote for.
You know, as a school director, I have an obligation to say, where's his school district going to be 2, 3, 4 years down the road?
We all do, yeah.
When we're spending money like this, there's only one other place to go, and that's to the taxpayers.
Well, Dr. Fike, I have an obligation to, if you're presenting misinformation to the public, to make sure that it's clearly spelled out that this was clearly given to us as information.
So where do you think we're going to be 3, 4 years down the road?
It's not the conversation we're
this one.
having. So,
Bankrupt.
Okay. All right, if there's no other discussion, we can go ahead and vote. Roll call vote, please.
Dr. Fike?
No.
Mr. Frund?
Yes.
Mrs. Geyer?
yes.
Mr. Grabiak?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rear?
No.
Mr. Olson?
No.
Mr. Shipley?
No.
Mr. Accipiter?
No.
Mr. Yotzi?
Yes.
4 to 5.
Homestead and farmstead exclusion.
Can I just ask, that failed, right?
Yes.
So now, what does that mean in terms of, it is June 24th, and we have to have a budget passed by the end of June, correct?
Right. So what it means is that you will be legally not permitted to pay bills on July 1st. So there are a couple of exceptions in terms of salaries that can continue to be paid for certain employees, but by and large, you won't be able to pay employees. You'll have you'll be permitted to make some expenditures to keep things from deterioration, but apart from that sort of capital preservation, you won't be able to pay bills. In all likelihood, I would say before you adjourn tonight, you should have a discussion about when you're going to hold a special meeting for the purpose of either reconsideration of the budget that was presented by Ms. Mondock. You could also, if someone wants to make a motion to approve the budget with some changes to either the expenditures or the revenue side, certainly you can do that. But, you have, I think, the obligation to make a plan for how you're going to address this before you leave here tonight.
I kind of feel that we have that obligation, and we should just probably have that discussion now while we're on the topic, rather than waiting, because, I just want to ensure first and foremost that this is not going to affect our summer food programs. Will that still be able to be run and paid for, and will those people be
It
paid?
comes out of the cafeteria fund.
I'm sorry, I was just asking
Okay,
the
I'm just-
solicitor. Thank you, though.
Yeah, I think that's still part of, I don't know if those summer food programs, do they stop on July 1? Or when you put the budget together for those, do they actually straddle 2 years? I think there's,
They typically straddle 2 years.
yeah. So, I'm not entirely sure what the answer is to that question, but I would say anyway that you should, as a board, do everything that you can within your power to have a budget approved before July 1.
No.
Yeah, I don't want to see kids going hungry because
Yeah,
they couldn't. We've had literally more budget meetings and
Yeah.
finance meetings this year than we ever have.
And
now here we are
the
at the
frustrating
wire.
part is nobody comes. Not every member of this board is there. So, the ins and outs of the budget that we painstakingly go through for everybody that attends these meetings, it's just frustrating that here we are now, 6 days away from not being able to pay bills.
Can I ask the solicitor?
But that's not fair to put on the ones that said no.
Well, it's not fair to put on the ones that say no. I understand. I just think that we need to have a plan.
I would like to make a motion, if I could, if we can go back into that particular item.
So a motion for reconsideration?
No, I'd like to make a motion that after this meeting, we go into an executive session and possibly have a quick discussion, which highly doubt it's going to be quick, but there may be a possible change that we can happen so we can at least get on the same page about, or at least the majority over.
But I think that's a public discussion.
Well, I was going to say,
Oh,
to the
okay. All right.
extent, yeah.
Right?
It's public unless it implicates personnel or
Okay.
safety and security.
Okay, so I apologize for that. So I'm going to make a motion that in that, I would reconsider my vote if we adjust the millage.
I had a-
So what I would say then, you've got motion 4, which is continuing taxes that has the millage rate, right?
The final budget resolution is what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Nicole, can I ask you
wait.
something? Do you want to raise the millage increase?
No,
Oh, okay, I can't hear.
no.
I'm sorry.
Not at all.
I don't have the, Mrs. Mondock,
Yes.
item 5, that's the real estate tax, those are the tax rates, correct?
That is
Millage
correct,
rate?
yes.
So I think then, Mrs. O'Rear, what you want to do is make a motion to amend the tax rates that are set forth in motion 5. And
Okay.
if 5 of you agree on whatever amendment you're preparing, then Mrs. Mondock, because I think then what the gist of this change will be is that it will change, your revenues will stay the same, it's just that
Right.
some of them, less will come from taxes and more will come
Right.
from the fund balance.
Right.
So I think that if you have agreement to make a change on item 5, then you could have a motion to reconsider the budget in light of the change in tax revenue,
Okay.
tax rates that would allow for the budget to pass.
Okay, so should I then wait till we get to that?
Mr.
That line
Lucas,
item.
my concern isn't taxes, it's spending.
All right, then.
Okay,
Spending.
this is my motion of amendment, not yours,
Her
so.
motion, you're entitled to make her motion.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Who gets 5
Yeah.
votes? I mean, I can't read your mind.
Can I ask a question?
But what I would say is, when you look at the next one, the homestead farmstead, that's non-controversial. You're just
Right.
applying gambling funds. Pass that one, pass the Act 511, and then have your discussion about the real estate tax rates. If you think they should stay where they are, Dr. Fike, then vote no to the amendment that Mrs. O'Rear is going to propose, and then come back to the budget item, because then you'll at least understand where the revenues that would fund your budget are going to come from, the local revenues, that is. Obviously, the state is, as Mrs. Mondock said, it's not a certainty until they pass the budget, but, you know, I mean, my advice would be go ahead and pass items 3 and 4.
Nicole, are you only worried about the tax part?
What does it matter? That has nothing to do with my amended motion that I'm trying to make.
Okay, I guess I just don't understand what's happening.
And I'll explain it whenever we get there.
I agree with Nicole, we need what the expenditures. Now, I have a question. Since we didn't pass a budget, can we revisit Act 93 to renegotiate that? Because we don't have a budget with that in there, those raises in there.
Well, so you don't have a budget yet, but you're still in the midst of this.
That would get expenditures down.
I mean, it's the board's call. You can reconsider any motion that passes or fails at the same legislative meeting, but someone who was in the winning side has to make the motion to reconsider. So, for example, if Mrs. O'Rear gets something that satisfies her on the real estate tax levels, she can then make a motion to reconsider the budget vote because she was in the winning side on the budget vote. A motion to reconsider the Act 93 agreement would similarly, under Robert's Rules of Order, come from somebody who was on the winning side, the winning 5 of the board majority that passed the Act 93 agreement.
Are we looking to change her vote? Is that what we're after?
No.
That's what I'm hearing, that's what I'm
We
hearing.
can revote.
Well, then you're not hearing
Like
right.
anybody knows what we're talking about.
Okay.
All right, so what I would just say is, if you want to end before midnight, does somebody want to make a motion to approve the homestead farmstead?
I'll make that motion. We move the
Second.
homestead farmstead.
All right. So let me read it. The board is asked to adopt the resolution to accept and distribute gaming tax funds in the amount of $1,634,369 to qualified homestead farmstead properties for the 25-26 school year.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and.
And second, yeah.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Repeat that again.
So that's motion number 3, homestead and farmstead exclusion.
The homestead farmstead.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we voted on this time.
Yes.
That's a yes.
Okay, so this is number 4.
Okay.
Continuing taxes, 25-26 fiscal year. The board is asked to approve the continuation of all taxes levied by the school district of Southmoreland in full force and effect, including those under Act 511, the Local Tax Enabling Act, 53 PS Statute 6901.
So do.
Second.
Discussion.
Now, we can
What
vote no
is-
on this, and it would just be
This is
the
for
money for the budget.
Act 511, Local Tax Enabling Act.
Right, so these are the
PS
taxes.
Statute 6901, Earned Income Tax, 511, 1/2 of 1%, Emergency and Municipal Services taxes at $5 per person, and Real Estate Transfer Tax according to Act 511. Those are the taxes you want to keep.
Right, so you pass a motion every year to continue those taxes. You're not allowed to raise them. Act 511 taxes are frozen at the level that they were at previously, but you pass a motion every year to continue them. Without passing this motion, you can't collect earned income taxes, emergency and municipal services tax, or real estate transfer tax. So you would literally be leaving money on the table.
I don't think we
Earned
collect earned income tax anyways, but.
All right.
hey, that's just me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
All right, so now, I'm sorry. It's not my meeting.
I threw a wrench.
Real estate taxation. The board is asked to approve the adoption of the real estate taxes in accordance with Section 687 of the School Code of 1949 as amended.
So do.
Second.
Discussion.
I think this is where I'm asking for an amendment.
Now, I just want you to realize, if we change the millage rates, what actually we're going to do is change how much we're spending out of our fund balance. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to cut any expenditures.
We're just
I'm
specifically
just
talking
specifically
about what.
addressing what she is proposing to amend.
And the other piece is you're going to need to make sure that if you adjust that millage, that you do it for both Fayette and Westmoreland. So
Right.
there's an extra wrinkle here
Yep.
that it's important to get the math right.
Yeah, so
Can I ask
what I would have to do
Poll
is,
question?
Sorry?
Can I ask
for
a poll
example,
question?
I think we haven't even given Mrs. Arrear an opportunity.
Not at
to
all. I haven't
explain.
even said what I wanted to
Can't ask a
say.
question yet. Let's let her say what she
Okay.
needs to say first.
Ms. Arrear, go ahead.
So I don't think we should be raising it, almost 2 mils. We've raised it again for a long time, last, 4 or 5 years now. And, our taxpayers, including ourselves, we need a break. And unfortunately, times have become tough and we've had to spend more money than usual than the prior year. But I don't think we should just go up, to 2 mils. So I am asking to amend the millage. I don't know, I'm just saying a millage to 1.00 or 1.50. If I'm asking that correctly.
You have to choose.
You need to pick one.
Oh, I have to pick one. I don't know, like,
Go on, Doc.
because I thought how we did it last year was better, where we could vote on which millage would be the best.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think like it's easier to get, well, I mean, what I would propose is choose the number you want and make that the amendment and
Okay.
and see where it goes.
Okay, so I'm going to go in the middle, then 1.25 mils.
So Stephanie's proposing 1.25 mils.
Yeah, I'm making the amendment.
A mill,
that we
a
move-
mill in the district's 128,000.
138.
1.25.
Okay, 138, it changes.
Yeah.
If we go back to Act
So wait,
93.
I'm sorry,
That's okay, we went right into a discussion.
she needs a second for the motion to amend to make that 1.25.
She also needs Fayette
And she needs Fayette.
as part of your motion.
Well, and what I'll have to do
Yes.
is, I'll have to go into CFRS tomorrow and get to the 1.25 in the Westmoreland County, and then see what that shakes out at in Fayette County.
I just got to say, I don't think that you should change your millage unless you're sure about what the impact's going to be in both counties. Like, you should know that, in my view, just because I don't.
All right, then I don't amend anything, and we leave it where it stands. We don't pay our bills. So, there it is. I take my amendment back.
We still doing discussion on this?
Nope,
Nicole, does that amendment,
I didn't make an amendment, I took it back.
you took it back? Okay, so it's off the table?
Yep.
Don't we have to vote to take it back off the table or something?
Nope, it wasn't, I made the amendment, and I took it right back. There was never a second.
Got me?
Are we still on discussion on this, or?
Nope.
No, because there's no motion, well,
I had,
you're on-
I had an important question. I mean,
you're on discussion on the underlying motion to adopt number 5.
because my question that was on, if we do go to 1.25, how much we'd have to take out of our thing. If we,
Right,
if we go back and renegotiate Act 93 to 3%, how much of a mill does that save us?
Well, but
We
again,
can't
that motion's not on the floor.
Wasn't it in the budget presentation that the Act 93 increases were $69,000?
Yes,
So that would be a half a mil, correct?
yes, roughly, yes.
You got to realize you got Peasers on that, too.
I think that number was included that. So I just want to say, in regard to the numbers, I know that when we talk, I think these numbers sometimes get sensationalized into millions and mils and all of that. So I did get from the tax assessment office this week a list of all of the tax assessed values in our school district. So residential and commercial farms, all of the above. Just sorting the residential ones, they gave me a median, which is the middle of the list, and then they also gave me a mean, which is, I was able to calculate the mean, which is an average. So we do know that the median was, 11,500. When I did the average, it came out to be 13,123 would be the average, so a little bit higher. There are 3 really highly assessed residential properties, and then obviously, we can go by median and mean. So then when you fill those numbers in with our 1.99 increase, so even if we went with $50,000 as an average assessed value, which is, let me see what my house is assessed at. It's double what my house is assessed at. So that would be an increase of $99.50 for the year. If you go with what the average, so the mean, we'll say 13,500 because I don't have it, that's $26.87 a year, so $224 a month, essentially. One of the higher assessed houses that I found on the list was assessed at 72.5, which if you multiply Westmoreland County's common level factor against that, it means that this is an $800,000 house. Theirs goes up $144 a year. So I think that sometimes these numbers get blown out of proportion, that it's going to put people into homelessness when the average impact is $2 a month. So
If I may interrupt, if they are an applicant that receives homestead farmstead, with the increase this year, that'll be negated by the homestead farmstead.
Being increased. So I think that, there's always a lot of talk throwing these numbers around, and it sounds like, oh my goodness, 2 mills is so much. And then when you actually, do the calculation and what the difference is, it's really not that substantial.
How many straight years have our taxpayers had a tax increase?
To whom are you addressing your question? I'm not on your witness stand.
How many straight years has our tax base had a tax increase in the Southmoreland School District? How many years straight in a row?
I'm not on the witness stand here.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have to look at that.
I don't know who you're addressing.
All right.
I don't like it.
Does anybody else have an amended suggestion then that we could discuss, or what do we need to do?
I'd like to reconsider
Well-
H2, but
Mr. Lucas,
So right now, you have on the floor, the motion to approve your real estate taxes as proposed by Mrs. Mondag. So that's what, if your discussion is completed, that's the item to be voted.
all right.
I had a question yet. I mean, we're still on the one, if we agree to go 1.25 mils,
Well, there's no motion to amend on the floor, right?
let's say we amend that to 1.25. Can we also put in that motion or amendment that she lowers the budget, that appropriate amount, whatever?
But then that's a whole conversation about what we're
that-
cutting.
No,
in
I
the-
would-
I would say that frankly, just for the sake of keeping it, I mean, if you want to reduce expenditures, you could make a motion whenever someone's going to ask to reconsider the budget motion that failed, and you could make a motion to amend to reduce the expenditures. I think that's the place.
And that would take us back to Act 93 again, right?
Well, it would take you, I mean, it depends, you could just say reduce the expenditures from anything, right? I mean, like,
You could hold up vans, you could.
Why can't I just make a motion that we turn around, go back to where we were, pass the budget, and quit acting like a bunch of,
Real estate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
all right, so.
I just asked if I could make a motion there, Queenie.
Because right now you have a motion on the floor to approve
Real estate
the real estate taxes. So why don't you vote on that
Did
first?
you salute?
I can,
See what you
Sir,
have.
we're going
I can
back.
make the amendment to do it to 1.25?
We're on the tax, we're on real estate,
Yeah.
real estate taxation right now, calculation.
Yeah, I mean, somebody can amend that motion if they choose to,
Back to Act
yes. But, like I said, part of the problem is you want to make sure that you understand that if you're changing that millage increase to Westmoreland County to 1.25 mils, you need to know what the number is for how it will change in Fayette as well.
I think that making this,
I mean, you could adjourn.
you don't have the information to just vote on changing the millage rate right off the cuff
Yeah,
like
I-
this. There's
you know-
too many things that it affects.
The frustrating part is the people that are now in the 11th hour wanting to change did not attend the meetings where we went through all this and we made these decisions. So So my suggestion would be going forward, come to those meetings with all your grand ideas, and we can take them up at the appropriate times.
never included in
June
negotiations.
24th. No, I'm not talking about negotiations. I'm talking about, the finance committee meeting that you've never been to.
Are you
the
telling
11th
us we have no right to vote the way we want to vote? Are you telling us we have no right to vote the way we want to vote?
Never said that. What I'm saying is now the 11th hour, we just want to come in here and swoop in and try to change everything when, the math has to math. It's not going to work out. We're not going to get it done tonight. And we have basically 6 days to figure out what we're going to do because nobody attends the meetings.
I have the answer. I have the solution right now.
Can I make a comment?
What percent of 1.9 is 1.2? What percent of cut is that? If you go from 1.99 to 1.25, as an example, what percent cut is that? So we cut the taxes that much, and we have the same cut in the budget.
Which I
You
don't
cut the
think is a
taxes,
tonight
you cut the
discussion that we
expenses.
can come
You
up
do the same thing. You cut,
Call to question.
give me the percent. I think it's like, what, 20% or whatever, 1.2 compared to 1.9. Somebody do it on a calculator there. So whatever that
No, I
percentage is.
don't do your bidding. I'm
So
sorry.
whatever that percentage of cut is for the taxes, you cut expenses to go with it.
And I think that sounds grand, but again, we can't have a whole conversation tonight about whatever percentage we're going to make cuts to tonight. Like, this is the
Stephanie,
whole.
did anybody come to a meeting and suggest 2 pages of cuts that never got to be spoken? Anybody?
I think that when I asked a clarifying question, you slammed your things down and slammed
I
out
said
the
if you
door.
shut your mouth, I'd give it to them, and you immediately ran your mouth.
I didn't run my
I came
mouth.
with 2 pages.
Call to question.
All right. So can we just vote on this and see if it passes?
There we go.
5?
Absolutely.
H5. All right, roll call vote, H5.
What are we
Real estate
voting on?
taxation.
Wait a minute, give
The
me.
board is asked to
There's a call
approve,
to question.
the board is asked to approve the adoption of the real estate taxes in accordance with Section 687 of the School Code of 1949 as amended. Roll call vote.
At what rate?
And that's what's
This
posted.
has nothing to do with that.
No rate. This is just, we're passing taxes.
Yeah, no amendments.
This gives us the ability to pass,
The rates are in.
to levy them.
This is just from a code of 1949.
Right.
No, I mean, it has it's an attachment, but the rates that Mrs. Mondock is proposing to fund the budget, so.
They're in there.
Oh, it does. So we have
It's under finance, number 5.
97.70 mils in West.
What are the
Orange,
rates?
17.84 mils
We need to hurry up
in
and vote.
Fayette.
Yeah, but the rate is included. Lucas just said the rate's included in this.
They are
It's not
included.
written down here.
It's an attachment, and.
There's an attachment.
So it's on that screen.
Be it resolved that, do you have a paper that starts with be it resolved that?
Doesn't say that on this agenda.
It would be attached
It's an
to item
attachment.
number 5 under finance,
hard
H5.
Wayne, you better do a roll call.
I already said it 6 times. Okay, wait until we can figure out what we're doing here, where we
All right.
are.
So are we ready for a roll call?
Yeah.
Yes.
I have no idea what they're voting on. Yeah.
That's 97 mil.
Ready?
Yep,
Okay. Mr. Frund,
yes.
Mrs. Geyer,
Yes.
Mr. Grabiak,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rear,
No.
Mr. Olson,
No.
Mr. Shipley. Mr. Accipiter,
No.
Mr. Yotzi,
Yes.
Dr. Flake.
No, because it does not state what the taxation rate will be.
5
Motion
4.
It's a no.
Okay, motion carries, thank you.
Okay, again, now what does this mean? Because I really have to be.
So it means that you have established what your revenue, what your real estate tax levels are going to be for 25, 26. You've not established, you haven't passed a budget, so your expenditures and, obviously you've made a decision with regard to local revenue. So your revenue side is covered, your expenditure side is not.
So the millages can no longer be changed.
Well, you've adopted them. I mean, again.
Correct.
as we
That's
said-
what I'm saying.
As we've said with everything.
They're nothing.
It can always be changed if someone does a motion to reconsider if they were in the winning side. Do you want to just take the rest of the stuff in finance and then come back to the budget?
Yes.
All right.
I'm going to run to the restroom really quick.
Real estate tax assessment appeal. The board is asked to approve the tax appeal settlement on parcel 4705000056.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
That attachment won't come up. Is it coming up there?
So we had no involvement in this.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Right?
We're moving it.
We had no involvement in this decision as a board
Decision.
to reduce these taxes.
What we're doing now.
Well, no, the motion that was passed, the motion that was on the agenda was passed 5-4 by the board.
This is the tax appeal.
This is the tax appeal.
Is this the one where we lose $18,000 a year?
Yes.
What did we have to do with that decision?
Well, you asked our office to act on the board's behalf.
I didn't.
and- Okay, all
I
right.
sure didn't.
right.
Did you?
Okay.
Okay, I need a motion.
I got a motion and a second.
I need a second. You have them both? Discussion.
I'm asking to stall until, there it goes, there it loads.
Okay.
Because it's not loading, nothing's loading. But it's the same one, it's the same attachment as prior.
It's real slow right now.
Yeah. All right, to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll cover roll call.
Roll calls.
Roll call.
Roll call vote, please.
It should be this one, right?
We wait for her.
There it goes.
If any chance it's not going to pass, then let's wait for her.
I think she's coming.
She's coming in.
Bring her up to speak. She's the first up.
All right, you are the first person on a roll call vote.
For what?
For H6, real estate tax assessment appeal that we talked about.
An executive session.
session.
Yes?
Okay.
Sorry, I
Start the
really
roll
had to go
call.
fast.
Mrs. Geyer.
Yes.
Mr. Grabiak.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rear.
I apologize, it pops in my head real quick. I am going to say yes, but did I recall someone saying something about one of the numbers was wrong and it was actually 19?
It's 18.
18.
18, something, something,
Because
something.
it just doesn't reflect,
18741.
it doesn't reflect in this paper, in,
The memo that's attached as an attachment does not have the corrected number in it.
okay, so I think.
It's less.
So I'm going to ask that we stall the vote until it's corrected.
Well, so it doesn't actually impact the assessment, it just impacts the memo that I gave you. The number is $18,741 in reduced taxes each year.
Instead of the 24,273.
Right.
Okay, so then I'm going to vote no.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Shipley. Yes. Mr. Accipiter.
No.
Mr. Yotzi.
Yes.
Dr. Flake.
We had nothing to do with this whole process, so the vote is no. We had nothing to say. This was done to us, not by us, to us. The vote's no.
Run.
Yes.
6-3.
Budget transfer, Stadium Rock Wall. The board is asked to approve a budgetary transfer from various accounts in the contingency fund in the amount of $78,331.71 to capital projects to fund the Stadium Rock Wall.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I thought you said that we had 1.6 million in our capital, and now we're asking to transfer 78,000 more?
No, 1.6 million is in our capital fund assigned fund balance.
Okay.
This is the capital fund, the monies that we borrowed initially to do the roof at the high school,
Okay.
as well as the turf. And then whenever we had a change order for that, and
Okay.
then we took it back out to bid, there were some additional expenditures. So that is actually me taking it from the general fund budget and putting it into the capital fund budget, which is separate and distinct from the fund balance capital fund.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, since the cap is not done, does this include the cap?
Does that include the cap?
The wall wasn't
The cap
capped yet.
on the wall, yes.
Yes.
Real quick, at the bottom, it says record date of official approval, and it's June 6th already.
Well, that's in the
Okay.
system. I have to go into the system and work on the accounts and get it, send it through this. This actually is through Adobe. And I did this actually on June 6th.
Okay, so that, it just time-stamped it then?
Yeah, it just timestamps it the day that you sign off on it.
I have a question. I'm going to read this very carefully. Approve a budgetary transfer from various accounts. What does that mean, various accounts?
Well, if you look at the attachment, Dr. Fike,
I don't have them.
Doesn't she get the attachments when she gets her?
She can answer my question. What are the various accounts?
okay, so they were,
Aren't they up there on the screen?
Yes.
yeah, they're attached. They are for books, they are for general supplies bid items, admin software, books and periodicals, tech fees, principal supplies, nursing supplies.
So you're just taking it from anything at all, just anything you want?
These are accounts that had money left in them at the end of the fiscal year. We needed those funds to pay for the rock wall since the additional, there was an additional RFP that went out.
There was a change order that was unnecessarily and deleteriously voted down by a couple of board members who are to my left. And that has caused the district to spend additional funds, and that's why Mrs. Mondock had to basically look in the couch cushions to cover the loss that was caused by the absolutely unnecessary voting down of the change order.
Why
By
would
you,
I don't agree
Dr.
with that,
Fike.
but that's okay, because I voted no as well.
Why wouldn't that money be put in the same account for next year? That would cut our budget.
Dr.
You
Fike-
giving people permission to just take money from anywhere for anything is what I'm saying, from various accounts. Just from various accounts.
Well, we have to find the money somewhere because it
no.
now costs more money than if we would have just accepted the change order. So
But
you gotta find it
that's not how you
to
run
pay
a
it somewhere.
business. That's not how you run a business.
Okay, then school us. Tell us how you run a business. What's the alternative? Tell us.
Oh, I had 2 pages of cuts that would have covered it.
Not the rock wall.
And it's been 4 years,
They'd
you have
covered the
never given
money.
them to us.
They covered the money.
Okay.
I do just want to follow up. Does she receive the attachments when she gets her printed agenda?
Yes.
So okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to be sure that we
All right.
were providing all of it.
On to the vote.
They could just take them from anywhere they want. She has that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Milk and beverage RFQ. The board is asked to award the RFQ for milk and beverages to Turner's Dairy for the 25-26 school year with an option for a one-year extension.
Have a good night.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, boy. I think we need a cookie break.
Hold on, we're going slow. All right. Insurance renewal proposal. The board is asked to approve the insurance renewal proposal from the DeFuro Mongel Insurance Brokers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do we move on to the next section, or do we reconvene?
Well, so if you want to reconsider the budget vote, now would be the opportunity for someone to make a motion to do that.
I'd like to make a motion.
You have to be on the winning
I
side.
mean, under Robert's rules, you're supposed to be under the side that prevailed to make a motion to reconsider. Someone could make a motion, because it was on the agenda, you could make a motion if you want to modify the existing motion that didn't pass. Someone could make a motion to that effect. But you'd have to figure out how you're going to adjust the budget.
Could we just move on?
Well, you have to pass a budget.
Can't just not.
We have 6 more days.
We're not the state.
Pardon me?
We're not the state, unfortunately.
So we don't have another meeting in 6 days, in the next 6 days, though.
More meetings will be more costly. And who attends? Probably the same people that attended the original 27 meetings. facetiously that we've had.
Yeah, the only way you would be required to advertise it in the newspaper unless you chose a date and time tonight and recessed this meeting until that day and time. So if 5 of you say, all right, we'll do this Friday night at 6 o'clock, just by way of example, you could do that, and essentially the public who is here tonight would have notice when that meeting was going to be held. I'd advise you to put it on your website, but that would allow you to not have to re-advertise, because at this point, even if you tried to put an ad in, it's not necessarily going to run. So,
What are the advertising requirements? How many days?
well, again, I believe that if you recess this meeting to a definite time and place, that you wouldn't have to run another ad.
So we essentially have 4 business days in which to do this.
Right, 4 weekdays, 2 weekend days.
I don't think we should expect our administrators to have to come in on the weekend. Somebody here, we got to do something here, so.
Yeah,
Anybody have any suggestions?
What is the millage rate right now?
We just voted.
In this fiscal year,
Right now, as we sit here, what is the millage rate?
24-25 or 25-26?
What is the millage rate for 24-25?
24-25, Fayette is 1707, and Westmoreland is 95.71.
Okay, so when we pass that motion, or when that motion failed, the taxes stay the same now? If it doesn't?
No, you did pass a motion to address
Motion was-
taxes for
The motion was
25-26.
passed. The taxes are going up.
See, Sam said no. He said no.
We
No, the
turned,
taxes
we
are set.
voted down the budget, but we voted yes for the
Right.
millage increase.
Can I make
We-
the motion to reconsider that item, or does it have to be somebody that was on the favorable side?
Unless you as a board vote to suspend, it's Robert's rules. So it's not law, but that's basically the way in which you operate so that you proceed in an orderly fashion. So under Robert's rules, someone can make a motion to reconsider, but it's supposed to be someone who was on the prevailing side.
So we need Mr. Shipley, Mr. Olson, Dr. Flake, or Mr. Accipiter to make a motion to reconsider so that we can have this conversation.
Technically, yeah.
Okay. Would any of the 4 of you like to make that?
Make a motion to move on.
I'll make the
We cannot just move on.
reconsider.
Okay, thank you.
And
Thank
then
you, Mr. Shipley.
the second can be from anybody.
I was seconded.
Okay. And so if 5 of you vote yes to reconsider it, it doesn't mean that you're passing the motion. It just means that you're putting it back on the floor to talk about it.
Right. So right now, are we voting to?
To reconsider, right.
Okay. Roll call.
Wait, let's be really clear.
Yeah, this
Yes.
is just to reconsider, so that
Just
it's
to
back on the
reconsider.
floor.
This is not yes budget, no budget. This is
Right.
reconsider budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reopening a discussion.
And it
Is that a
reopens
yes vote?
discussion, correct.
Open discussion.
Yep.
This is, yes, putting it back on the discussion floor.
Roll call.
Mr. Grabiak.
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rear left. Mr. Olson.
Yes.
Mr. Shipley.
Yes.
Mr. Accipiter.
No.
Mr. Yitzi.
Yes.
Dr. Fike.
Yes, we're going to open discussion. They're going to open discussion on the budget.
Mr. Frund.
Yes.
Mrs. Geyer.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, now, where are we in this process?
So we put the motion on the floor.
So the motion's on the floor. Right now, you are back in discussion.
The board-
It's like we turn back the clock 30 minutes.
I'm going to read it again for the public. The board is asked to approve the 25-26 final budget with revenues in the amount of $37,104,530 and expenditures of $37,104,530, which includes a tax increase of 1.99 mils for Westmoreland County and .6587 mils for Fayette County.
So do.
Second.
Discussion.
So,
Make this clear what everybody's voting on. We're voting on the budget.
Passing the budget, yes.
but I also think that we should make it clear that we already passed these millage
Millage
rates.
rates, right. So taxes are going up.
So the millage has already been passed,
But we can still vote the budget to be lowered.
but the taxes are still going
taxes
to,
are
then what do we do with the extra money? Because then I just feel like we're just throwing money into savings for which also,
Put it in the fund balance.
Well, so I mean, if someone wants to make a motion to amend the budget, you obviously can do that from the floor, just like any motion can be amended, and then 5 of you would have to agree to amend that motion. And if not, then basically the budget as presented is back on the floor for a vote.
okay.
Okay.
Didn't we just vote to discuss that?
Right now, you're in discussion on the underlying budget. We're back there.
And what did you recommend we do?
I didn't recommend anything. I just said what your options are is you can discuss and then re-vote on the budget that Mrs. Mondoc presented, or somebody can make a motion to amend. I know, in conformity with what Mr. Recipiter is saying, that if you want to cut expenditures, you can say, we only want to, and I don't know what the number was for the expenditures. You can say, yeah, 37,106 or whatever. I mean, you can make a motion to amend the budget as it relates to particular expenditures, if that's what
No.
someone wants to do.
How do we can I make a motion to bring back the real estate taxation? for
Not
revote?
yet, because right now you have a motion on the floor with regard to the budget.
And you were not on the
Can I make a
prevailing
motion
side of that
to
one.
table this until we address that?
No.
No, come on.
All right.
I want to amend, I'd like to
Discussion.
amend then the budget. Can I amend the budget?
Anybody can make a motion to amend the budget.
Okay, the budget was what, 37 million?
104,000.
Was it
$530. $37,104,530.
37 what, 104?
That's expenditures. 37,104,530.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the budget to 36.5 billion.
Well, I mean, part of the problem is, what is your administration going to do with that in terms of where's the spending coming from? Where's the expenditure cuts coming from?
So he has a motion, he needs a second, correct? And then we
Correct.
can move on.
Make the budget 36 and a
36
half?
million.
36 and a half.
No, 36.
Well, I made the motion, 36 and a half.
So you made that motion, right? We need a second.
Yeah, we need a second
Yes.
for that.
Any second.
How many times does he have to call for a second until we can move on? I'm trying to get us out of here before my bedtime.
When does it fail?
Yeah, I guess at this point, if there's no second, then the motion to amend fails for lack of a second.
All right, motion to amend fails.
And we now call this question to order.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Roll call vote, please.
What are we voting on?
The
This is the
original budget.
The original motion, H2.
The original budget?
Yes.
We already did that once,
And there was a motion to reconsider.
and it failed.
And we reconsider.
No,
Let's reconsider.
so it's on the floor now.
She made a motion.
Let's vote.
Second to
But what about the taxes already increased?
Let's go.
Yeah, roll call, please.
Mrs. O'Rear is absent. Mr. Olson?
Yes.
Mr. Shipley? Mr. Recipiter?
No.
Mr. Yitzi?
Yes.
Dr. Fike?
Dr. Fike, what's your vote?
On the budget.
Dr. Fike?
You're voting on the same budget that failed.
Yes, because it was
Yeah,
reconsidered.
We reconsidered it.
No.
Okay.
I don't want to,
Let's go.
I'm not voting on
Mr.
it.
Freund?
Yes.
Mrs. Geyer?
Yes.
Mr. Grabiak?
Yes.
6-2.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next
Right.
section is building, grounds, and security.
New van adequacy funds. The board is asked to approve the purchase of a used 2022 Chrysler Voyager van through Ranker Motors at a cost of $26,100 paid for using adequacy funds.
So do.
Second.
Discussion.
I'd like to see, in addition to that, for an extended warranty on that.
I will check into that.
We're over.
I mean, that's something that definitely needs looked at.
Okay.
So do we table this until that's discussed?
Is there a way that you can amend to say, provided the district is able to obtain an extended
Yeah,
warranty?
that would be fine.
Okay, what is an acceptable extended warranty in your?
Well, it should at least be 100,000. Most of them are like to 100.
Okay, and obviously, if you get an extended warranty, there's going to be an additional cost. Do you have any?
Probably going to be a few $1,000s, but in the long run, it's definitely
Cheaper than.
save you a lot on that deal.
Oh, yeah, it's cheaper than a transmission, for sure.
So why don't you say this, Mr. Sipiter, amend to say,
It hinges on the extended.
well, right, that with the condition that the district obtain an extended warranty that goes to 100,000 miles at a cost not to exceed an additional $3,500.
Yeah, 3,800. Be realistic, 3,800. That's like half of what it would cost to fix it.
Okay.
Why don't we
And then
just
it
say
covers other things
under
too.
$30,000, that would be $3,900 on top of that, right? No,
Because there is problems there with a couple other things with those.
900. No, that's right, 3,900.
78.
Okay, we clear?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So,
So I would say you'd vote on unless the amendment that Mr. Sipiter made is friendly and you guys all accept it, then we don't have to separately vote on that.
I accept it.
You on the friendly amendment?
Yep, friendly amendment.
Oh, that's my favorite kind of amendment to make.
I know. It's nice to end on a friendly amendment, isn't it?
That's my favorite amendment.
Yes.
Stole my thunder.
Anybody opposed to the friendly amendment? All right. So now, voting on the amended motion, the board is asked to approve the purchase of a used 2022 Chrysler Voyager van through Ranker Motors with at least a 100,000-mile warranty and not to exceed
3,800, right?
$3,800 additional cost
For the extended warranty.
for the extended warranty.
Yeah, because it has 16,000 miles on it now. So
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Next section is athletics and activities.
Wrestling mat. The board is asked to approve the purchase of a new wrestling mat for the wrestling room at a net cost to the district of $11,352.43, which is 1/3 of the total cost, $34,057.30, being split between Southmoreland Wrestling Parent Association and Southmoreland Junior Wrestling Association.
So do.
Second.
Discussion.
Have both associations voted on this already? Okay, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I just want to say that you all had to sit through a lot of stuff for that. I feel like we should have put that at the beginning of the agenda for them.
We made 4 people
Our
happy tonight.
apologies.
Hey. All right.
Agreed.
We have citizen comments coming up, or you can address us after the meeting.
There's like one more thing. It won't be hours more. We promise.
Okay, last section is closing exercises.
Citizens' comments. If you want to do it publicly, ask your question, you may now, or if you want to wait till after the meeting, that's also fine.
Can you come up to the microphone though, so that the ladies and gentlemen at home can hear you?
And please state your name.
Where's she at?
I'm Jessica Shannon, president of the middle school, high school organization. So with this being said, with the purchase of the mat, I need a PO from the school and also your tax ID number. When is that going to get submitted? Because this mat takes 8 months to make.
Holy cow.
My understanding is that this is going to be, the purchase order is going to be cut at the beginning of July for the next fiscal year, so in a few days.
Because we have a budget, we can do that.
And yes, by all means, we're going, because I've already talked with Mr. Pritz and Ms. Spear about it, we're going to also send in our sales tax exemption because we're going to buy it, and then what will happen is once we get it, we'll invoice both of you folks.
Okay, and I'm 90% sure we do not need to buy it until it is actually in our hands. But I will double check with Resolite,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
Hi, Bud Sandemeyer, 608 South Broadway Street, Scottsdale. I made an assumption earlier when I asked for a clarification on the tax assessment appeal. I made an assumption that the effective date would be January 1st of 2026. However, I do know there are some appeals that are retroactive. Is this effective in 2026, or is it retroactive, and what is that effective date?
2025.
So it's, okay, thank you.
Of course.
All right, thank you. Any other citizens' comments?
Mr. Solicitor, is it necessary that I sit and listen to this?
I'm not keeping you prisoner.
Thank you. I've been hearing this
We
for
won't
the last
volunteer.
11 months, 12 months. It gets old after a while.
Hostages.
Same stuff.
Citizens' comments
See you, Rich.
is where we are.
Since the taxpayers are paying the bill, I think they need to know what they're paying for. The figures that I'm going to give you do not include the individual contracts for the superintendent and the business manager. They are extra. This year, the assistant superintendent got a $9,250 raise and will earn $130,000. The high school principal got a $9,131 raise and will earn $107,000. The assistant high school principal got somewhere like $3,700 and will earn $90,580. The middle school principal got a $7,960 raise and will make $106,000. The elementary principal got $2,991 and will make $122,644. The primary center principal got a raise of $1,021 and will make $102,163. The maintenance individual got a raise of $18,740 and will earn $85,000. And as close as I can come, the school psychologist got a $5,000 raise. We couldn't figure out those things, making $80,000. These figures apply to 8 people. 8 people. And they will cost, with benefits, somewhere around $1.2 to $1.3 million, somewhere in that category. If the raises were like $54,000, remember, we have to pay, is it 34%, Mrs. Mondock, just for retirement, just for retirement. So when the salary goes up, we pay more. So I want the taxpayers to know that tonight, Mr. Shipley, Mrs. Schreier, Mr. Grayback, Mr. Frund, and Mr. Yutzi voted for approximately a $1.2 million cost for 8 people for 1 year.
I think there's 11 people. I just counted them.
I said I did not count the federal funds. I did not count. We do not have a director of technology. He's gone. And I do not know what the salary was for the security. I said that.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, me.
Amen.
A second.
Me.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
I refuse to come to any further meetings without cookies.
I bought a whole Big Daddy, and I think